Hi, thank you so much. This is Chelsea Moore. Thank you so much again for joining me here at Divine Speech and Language Services. Today I just want to talk to you briefly about attention deficit disorder / attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Typically you are hearing it more than likely referred to in your environment or at IEP meetings or at school as ADD, ADHD. What that basically means is attention deficit disorder / attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Now let me break that title down to you. Anytime there is a deficit of something, that means that there's not enough. So when you hear it described as attention deficit, that means that someone has a hard time maintaining attention, sustaining attention, or practicing selective attention. Selective attention is pretty much what we choose to focus on. We typically can control that to a certain point, but individuals that have ADD or ADHD have a very significant amount of difficulty not only selecting what they're going to attend to, but sustaining it over time. Sustaining it over time could be as many as 10 seconds or 30 seconds or minutes, but even though that's not a long time for most, for some people they really struggle with that. Attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorders appear to have been more prominent in the last 10 years or so because now more is known about the disorders. It's pretty much a disorder of the frontal lobe in your brain. This is where pretty much your personality is housed. And when the frontal lobe is not stimulated, sustaining attention for quite some time is very difficult to do. You will typically see this in adults that have a hard time following directions or remembering what they did or what they were supposed to do, as well as children. Sometimes in adults, you will hear adults say, gosh, I never had a hard time concentrating until my adult life. I'm wondering if I have adult ADD, ADHD. Probably not. What has probably happened is the threshold in which you are typically required to concentrate and perform has risen. So more is required of you. So let's just say, for example, you were a college student and you were one of those people you could pretty much listen to information and recall it fairly nicely, and then you would go and perform the duty. You were able to sustain and maintain attention for quite some time. But now as an adult, you're not a college student anymore, and you now have a job that might require you to perform that activity and to do it over and over and over. But now the threshold is different. So as a college student, you were maybe here given directions and instructions, and now that you have a job and your sole responsibility is to do that, that threshold is up here. Even though you were a college student, your ability to maintain attention was probably here, but now that the threshold is risen and more is required of you, your attention may still be here. Doesn't mean that you have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It just means that you have a hard time concentrating and doing what you're supposed to do, and now that the threshold is risen, more is required, which means that you have to concentrate for a longer period of time. You will often see this as well in children that have a hard time multitasking, because typically you will give them directions and instructions and they'll either do the very first thing they heard or the last thing they heard, but not the things in the middle. So they have a hard time focusing and maintaining attention and figuring out what they're supposed to do. In other words, when they hear information being presented to them, they have a hard time listening to information that is relevant and then being distracted by information that is not relevant. So more information about the services we provide, please go online at divinespeech.com. Please like our Facebook page, Divine Speech and Language Services, and you can also visit us on YouTube. Thank you so much.